Hello all and welcome back to the C tutorials. In today's class, we are going to see about variables and constants. So before going into variables and constants, we are going to see the character set that C provides. So let's get started. In C, we can use all the alphanumerical characters like uppercase and lowercase a to z and digits from 0 through 9 and also some special characters that I mentioned here. Along with these characters, we can also use some escape sequence characters, which are mentioned right here. So escape sequence characters are used to format your output. So I have demonstrated the use of two escape sequence characters in the list. Uh, One is horizontal tab and other is new line. A horizontal tab is used to print a tab space between your output. As you can see here in the printf statement, I have used an horizontal tab between hello and world, which changes the output like this. So you can see a horizontal tab space between hello and world. So in the next example, I have used new line escape sequence character between hello and world. You can see how the output is changed. After hello, a new line is printed and then the word world is printed. So you can take note of all the escape sequence characters mentioned here. Pause the video for some time and take down the escape sequence characters present. So I hope you have copied all the escape sequence characters, and now we'll move on to keywords. Keywords are special words that give special meanings. They cannot be used for any other purposes. They have some special meaning for which only they can be used. So these are the available keywords that are present in the C library. We have already come across to some of the keywords like int, double, enum, etc. etc. So there are other keywords too which are available in C library. Again, pause your video for some time and take notes of these keywords present. So next we'll move to variables. So variables are the name of the memory spaces we give. So in our addition program we did earlier, we used three variables named A, B and C. So these are the names of the memory spaces we gave. So we declare it as int. So A, B, C were the three variables we used in our program. So while naming a variable, there are certain points that you have to keep in mind. A variable's name must not start with an integer, or a variable's name must not be an integer. So you cannot name a variable named 1a or 12. So this is not a possible way of naming a variable. The only possible way is you can name a variable starting with an alphabet or underscore. These are the only possible two ways. So I can have a variable say a or underscore a. So these are the possible ways. You cannot have integers. So next we should know a basic difference between declaration and definition of a variable. So in our addition program, after main program started, I wrote a line like this: int a, b and c. So in this line, I say to the compiler that I'm going to use three variables a, b and c in my program. So that step of the program is known as declaration. Declaration is done when program starts. So in C, we have to tell the compiler before execution of the program that we are going to use these variables. So definition of a variable means giving a value to a variable. So in the addition program, we gave a value of sum of a plus b to c. So this step is known as defining variable c. So definition means giving a value to the variable, and declaring means saying to the compiler that we are going to use this variable. Declaration can be done only during the starting point, but the definition can be done during declaration or in the middle of the program. So next we'll move on to variable scope. Variable scope depends on the function scope. When the function scope ends, the variable scope also ends. I have considered an example here. Let's take an function void func1. My function doesn't return anything, so its return type is void. So inside this function, I have declared a variable a whose value is 10. So inside the function func1, the value of a is 10. In the main function, if I try to access the value of a, my program will throw an error saying that a is not declared. This is because a is declared and defined only inside the function 1 and not inside main. So when the compiler enters into main function, it doesn't know what is a and what's its value. So it throws an error. That's all about variables. So now we'll move on to constants. Constants, as the name suggests, cannot be changed. So a variable which is declared as constant cannot be changed. So there are four types of constants: integer constant, floating point constant, character constant, and string literals. Constants are also called as literals, and variables are also called as identifiers. So we'll start with integer constants. Integer constants consist of numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. It cannot contain any special characters like comma, dot, etc. in between them. These are the possible ways of having an integer constant. You cannot have an integer constant like this because there's a special character comma in between. Okay, next we'll move on to floating point constant. Floating point constant consists of decimal values. We can make use of decimal points and also exponents like these. So the only possible ways of representing a floating point constants are these. So we cannot have a floating point constant like this because floating point constant does not have decimal points in the exponents area. So that's all about floating point constant. Character constant can be represented by single quotes. So characters are present inside the single quotes. So these are the possible ways of declaring a character constant. Next we'll move on to string literals. String literals are constants. Strings are collection of characters or array of characters. So I have mentioned three strings here. In this, S is a character, R is a character, and so on. So collection of all these characters make a string. So strings are represented within two double quotes. That's all about types of constants. Next, we'll move on to defining a constant. There are two ways of defining a constant. One using a hash define and next using a constant keyword. So let's consider a program in which I'm having a variable a whose value is 10 and I don't want the value of a to be changed anywhere in the program. So I have to define the value of a like const int a equal to 10. So by doing so, the value of a cannot be changed furthermore in the program. So the basic syntax is that const your data type of the variable, your variable name and value if any. So this is the basic syntax of const definition. Next, we'll move on to hash define. So let's consider a program in which you need to find the weights. So we know the common formula to find the weights, and that is f equal to mg. So in this, g is always constant. So g's value is not going to change in any scenario. So you can define the value of g constantly with hash define function. So this is how you define the value of g. So by making the value of g as a constant by defining it using hash define function, the value of g doesn't get changed in the program. Constants can be used in such cases where you can prevent accidental changes of any variables. So that's all for today. I hope you understood whatever I taught you today. Please do subscribe to our channel for more videos and please do continue watching our videos. Thank you.